So yes, synchronization, that's my favorite topic, maybe soon yours as well. So the synchronization is really the backbone of Resco mobile CRM application, and it's the core part that makes it possible for Resco mobile application to function so effectively. And what offline really means is for the users, for your sales reps or technicians to be able to work with the data wherever they are and without any delay. However, each company's data model is different, and like in the ideal world, it would be maybe possible to only get like a few thousands of records that the user really needs into offline, and that wouldn't be an issue for the offline database. But in the real world, every enterprise has a lot of business processes on the server, a lot of data that is really needed for the user to be able to work with these processes and to follow. That means that often we see customization that require millions of records in the offline database. And because it's different for everyone, it's important to have the set of tools to fine-tune the synchronization. It's important to have the tools to make the synchronization process specific for your data model and work well with your data. I'm going to share some news on the synchronization, so some new things that we have been working on. Then I'm going to go through guide to analysis and improvement of the synchronization process, and then some general tips. I hope that a few of you will have that aha moment when you see like what tools we can utilize, what we can use to really get more information about the sync, and then what we can do to make our sync perform better. So let's start with the sync news in Woodford. And here we have the Data Model Explorer. So basically this is a dashboard that will show you all the entities, all the tables that you have enabled for your offline customization. And it will show you general information in one place, so you have a nice, clear view of what you are really syncing into your mobile application. You will have information about the synchronization type, maybe about the child-parent relationship of the tables. And what's really nice, you also see like how many columns, how many fields are enabled for each individual entity. And this tool will also tell you, okay, for this entity, these fields are enabled for the offline customization, but they are not really used in the offline customization. So probably you can uncheck these unused fields and remove them from the offline. This can make a huge difference. Probably the most extreme case that I have seen, it was one of our customers, and they have on their account entity, they have more than 600 columns, and they have a lot of accounts. So downloading that entity with all the fields and all the rows, it's a terrible performance, and being able to really reduce the number of the columns from 600 to maybe 80 or 100, which is really required for the offline customization, that makes a huge, huge difference. The next new thing that we have is the new entity link types. As you might know, currently there's the inner, no, currently there's also this one, but previously we had the inner and the outer link, which we could use in our synchronization filters. But with these new entity link types, which are supported by Microsoft, there's several of them, we added this exists and in new link types, and it's very it can make a huge difference in terms of performance of the sync filter, especially when you have a sync filter like this. So it means there are work order products, which are many to one relationship to the work order, and then from work order there is one to many relationship on the Bookable bookings. So if you use the inner link types, this will just join all the tables, and It can cause delays, it can cause long synchronization time in the end. But changing this to exist, like we can hint to the server that okay, I can, like if there is any work order and with any booking that that falls under this condition, then download the work order product. So the server is not required to really join all the tables, and this makes a huge difference. I've seen with one of our customers that they were testing one fetch and it would fail every time. Like I was on the call with the guy, and in fetch tester he was just pushing execute. Every time it would come to the 120 seconds timeout limit, and it would fail. But the only difference that we did is change the link types in his case, and the server returned the response in under 1 second. So really this, even though it's a small change, it can really make a huge difference. Then the sync news in the Resco mobile application regarding synchronization optimization, and you will see soon because I will go through this. So now we are moving to the next part, which is about analysis and improvement of your sync. So generally when I do an optimization or a synchronization, there are several steps that I follow. First, we check the sync logs, because that's where a lot of information is in. And then maybe we can check with Fiddler, with Storage Analyzer, and a few new analyzers that I would like to talk about today. From the information that we have gathered, we should be able to identify problems. So we should see like which fetches take so long, which part of the synchronization takes too much, and based on that, we'll try to apply some changes. As I said, it's important to have the set of tools to make the synchronization algorithm tailored for our specific data model. So Resco has a lot of these options. So you can do sync filters, sync configuration, advanced sync setup, and much more. Then we will check the improvement, like I'll try to retry the same synchronization process, and I will compare the times, okay, this is better, this is not better, and based on that, I can repeat the whole process. But what's the most important thing is understanding your data. That means you need to be able to see, okay, like on the server, these are the biggest tables that I have. These are the tables that I'm syncing. These are the tables that have very complicated sync filters. This is the security. This is the sharing, and all other things that that comes into play. So now let's get into the first part, which is reading and really understanding the sync log. The sync log is really the holy grail. It's the one piece of that's the one piece that contains the most information that we can get about the synchronization filter. And even though it might be, because it's a plain text file, so for many people it's kind of scary, but I think it's really worth trying to go through it, to try to understand it a bit. We have a really nice documentation about it on our Resco wiki. And you will see that, okay, then this is the main part, this is the info, this is the information about upload, this is the information about the app project, there is the information about downloader, summary, etc. So we'll go through one of these. This is a synchronization from one of our customers, but I have anonymized all the names. So we'll see that here is the main part, here's the information about the organization, about user. Then we have information about whether it's licensed. And in this particular synchronization, we can see that that there was the new customization was downloaded, which means that the synchronization didn't go further. It just stopped. It applied the new customization, and then the sync was restarted as a new one with the new customization. Yeah. So after this divider that we see, there's the restarted, the new synchronization. Again, we see some general info at the start. Also information about the advanced sync setup, which was applied here. Then about upload. We can see that only one record was uploaded, and then there's information about the download. So for the downloader, we can see the download cache which was used, because we can also see this paused for, which means that because of the cache was too small, the synchronization downloader had to stop for 53% of the time and continue only on one thread. So probably there's room for improvement. Then we can see information about each individual entity which was downloaded within the sync. The first one was the opportunity with 454,000 of records downloaded in 434 milliseconds. We can also see some general information about the page size, so and which page size was used. So for this entity, we have used 1,000 records per one download page. We can also see a general tip to increase this, because when the download runs, there are also analytical parts which will tell you, okay, so this entity with 1,000 records per page run pretty smoothly, pretty fast. So it's recommended to increase the page and request more records on one page, which will make in the end the sync perform better for that specific entity. Next entity is the quote with over 1,482,000 records downloaded in 2,162 seconds. We can also see again a tip to increase the page for this entity. The effect probably will be huge, because it took so much time just to download this almost 1.5 million of records. So if we applied higher download page, it could make a big difference. Then we have the rest of the entities, and then information about the cleanup phase. So the cleanup phase means that after all the data have been downloaded, the Resco mobile app will check, okay, now do all records meet the synchronization criteria that we have set in the first place, and it will need to check every singular entity for that. In this case, we see that for most entities there were 0 deleted records. That means that the synchronization filters are set quite well. But if you would see like something here for the quote, if there would be like 10,000 records deleted, that means that I probably have some inconsistency in my sync filters, meaning that some quotes were downloaded, but then when again they were checked against the sync filter on the quote entity, 10,000 were deleted. So that again means like, why am I downloading something that I will delete in the end? And that would probably mean that I will need to recheck my sync filters and make sure that they are consistent across the entities, or probably the linked entities which would be used in the synchronization filter of quote. Then we have the summary. In most cases, this is the place that you should look first, because there's like general information about the synchronization. So how many records were downloaded. We see that it was over 8 million of records in this case, and took over 2 hours. So it's a pretty heavy synchronization, but this is just a full synchronization, so incremental syncs would be hopefully better. And we also see some information about the analysis. It will be down there, which includes warnings, tips, and if there are any errors, they will be also here in the summary. The tips in this case would be increase the synchronization cache size, because we see that the download was paused, so we can work something with that. And the synchronization log will already know that, and it will tell you, it will provide these tips for you. That was just one synchronization log, but probably you might have hundreds of users. And how do you get the logs from them? So for that, we have recently put out this new tool, which is called Synchronization Analyzer. You can set it to run just for the one user or for the whole organization for the set amount of days. In this case, it was 30 days. And just with one click, you can get information about all the synchronization logs that happened in your organization for the 30 days. In this case, you can see some summary information. So there were 5 full syncs, there were 118 incremental syncs, and how much time each individual part of the synchronization took. So this can be very useful when we're doing an analysis on a larger scale. You can copy-paste the data in Excel, where you will see that there are more than 30 columns with specific counters and specific information about each individual synchronization. So it's very effective if you want to monitor, like, okay, something went wrong here, something is wrong for this user, or something is wrong for this part of the synchronization. I can already tell you that we are working on a new way how we can propagate this information, how we can send out this information to your analytical tools, like for application insights. So you wouldn't need really to go to the application and go through Sync Analyzer, but you can just watch this in real time. Every time a new synchronization event is executed, you will see new information in your analytical tool. Then there's the storage analyzer, which is not new, but it has some new reports which can again be very effective. So just to refresh, when you run the synchronization analyzer, you will see for each individual entity how many records there are in the database, what's the database footprint, if there are any empty fields which probably you don't need actually in the offline database, and you can disable them if there are any empty entities which are in your customization, but you are not actually using them because there are no records. Then there is information about the images, what kind of documents you have downloaded for this application, if they are PDF, PNGs, etc. And then there's the new part about questionnaires. So you will see which templates do you have in offline, how much space they take up, what are the biggest templates, what are the templates with biggest reports, etc. So a lot of useful information if you want to know what kind of data you are really getting into your mobile application. Another new analyzer is the sharing analyzer or the POA analyzer. This means Principal Object Access Table. In Microsoft Dynamics, if you are sharing a record, an account to a team or to a user, there will be a new entry in the POA table which stores information about it. And what it also means that every time that you request something from the servers, for example, if I run a fetch, give me all active accounts, the server will check the security as well. So it will check, okay, this user is requesting accounts, what access privileges does he have, and what sharing does he have? So it will always link this table as well. And that means that for organizations which have a lot of sharings, the POA table can grow to a large extent, and every fetch request can take much more time on the server just because the server needs to go through the POA. So the POA analyzer will get you the information about the sharing. So it will tell you, like, for these entities you have that much sharing, for this team there is a lot of sharing. Again, it can be very useful when doing investigation of why maybe some fetch is not performing as well as you would like to. Next is the Fiddler. So Fiddler is a very useful tool again, and it tracks all the web traffic. So it will track every request and every response from the server. So if you plug it into Resco when the synchronization is ongoing, you will see every request that the Resco sends to the server and every response. You can see them in this nice view, like in a timeline. In this case, we can see that there were always free requests ongoing at the same time. So that means that we have used free download threads. You can see how much milliseconds, how much time each individual request took, and how much data was downloaded within that request. So again, if there would be a bad performing fetch, you would see it right here. So if the average here is 100 milliseconds and then one request takes, I don't know, 60 seconds, then you know, okay, so probably this is very hard on the server and you can do something about it. Right, so we have gone through how to get the data, and next is identifying the problems. But this gets tricky because it's different for every organization. It's different for every data model. And it's important to go through the data, to go through the process that I have shown, and to kind of try and understand, okay, so these are the bottlenecks, these might be the problems, and then you will know the problems already. Most of the problems that we encounter at Resco are very well documented on our wiki. So if you find, okay, so I have problem with cleanup, or I have problem with entity, with download of this entity, just search through our wiki, and probably you will find resources. And if not, you can just contact our support or me, and we'll try to help you with that. Next are some useful tips that I use, and if you don't know them, they can, I believe, really help you to work better with the analysis and make you able to make your synchronization better. First one is the XML editor. I'm glad that we have seen a XML editor for rules before, but this one is for synchronization filters, and it makes you able to have a clear view on the synchronization filter as an XML, makes you able to do copy-paste operation much faster, and also like edit multiple fields at the same time. And you can also just copy-paste the actual filter that you are using into some other tool, like here, fetch XML tester, and run the fetch, see what records this fetch will really return. Next is accessing the application folder. So if you are on Windows, you can get into the application folder where all the information about the customization, all the data is stored. Typically, you would access it for working with the offline JavaScript files or offline HTML, but you can also access the synchronization filter here in one file. You can access the advanced synchronization here, and this makes you able to just restart the app and work with edited version of the synchronization filter without the need to go to Woodford and publish changes there. Next tip is on the download threads. So Resco download works simultaneously in several threads. It can be 1 or 5. By default, it's free. And we can see that just by increasing the number of download threads, like in this case, in the first image I have 3 threads downloading 7 entities. In the next image I have 5 threads. And you can see just by increasing the number of threads, I can bring down the synchronization time, and this can be significant in many cases. It can be 30, 40%. Next is the download priority. This is again playing with the download threads, but now with the order of entities that will be downloaded. So in case there's a dominant entity, like in this case it's the product entity, which takes the most of the time, it really matters when it will be picked up by the synchronization. So in the first image, it was picked up as the 4th, as the last one, because the first thread picked up account, the second contact, then the first thread order. And after that was downloaded, they can pick up the next entity, which was product. But if we play with the order, and if we place product first, because we know this is a dominant entity that has a lot of records, we can again significantly bring down the synchronization time without really no other effect. So it's important to understand this, to be aware if there's a dominant entity in your system, and in that case, probably making it sync first with priority. Next one is the not older than X days. I think this is not a well-known feature, and it's a special operator that's available just in Resco. Actually, we got this idea on Resco Next a few years ago, and what it can do is really what it says. So just not older than X days. But in a typical field service scenario, like in this case, it can make a huge difference for the server, because instead of using start date in the last 14 days and or start date in the next 14 days or today, so this complex condition, which is grouping three different conditions in one on or statement, we can just use, okay, give me all bookable resource booking not older than 14 days. Probably in the future there will be not too many, so we couldn't care less about that, so that's fine. And just we can use not older than 14 days, which is what we really need. And this makes it much easier for the server to know which records I want. And Resco, while the time of the synchronization, will replace that not older than 14 days value with the actual value that's at the time of the synchronization. So again, this can be very useful. Next tip is on the offline database indexes. Again, this is not a well-known feature, but Resco actually allows you to define indexes on the offline database. By default, all lookups are indexed, and the primary name and the IDs are indexed. But in some cases, it can be very useful to define these indexes, because it makes the offline database perform much better if you search on these fields. So in a typical case, if you have some string, like with, I don't know, product ID or something, or some date time that the users query often, or that's used in the synchronization filter, and then it will be queried while the cleanup phase is ongoing. So in this case, it's very useful to define the index there, and the server will perform better. Next are some other tools that outside of Resco that you can use, like Microsoft SQL Server Studio. This allows you to actually connect to your server and do SQL commands. It can be very useful, for example, when you are trying to know we're trying to understand the extent of your tables, so you can do like a count of all accounts, and it can be like 1.5 million. With fetch, there are restrictions which don't allow you to go about, I think, 50,000 of records, but with this, with SQL Server Management Studio, you can go to millions. You can really get all the information. And next one is the XRM Toolbox, which offers a lot of nice tools, like the fetch XML tester in this case, or tools for understanding your permissions, etc. Last, Resco Wiki. I have mentioned a few times today, but really this is great resource where every time we learn something, we are trying to document it and put it into the wiki. So all the synchronization process is very well documented there, all the tips and all of our know-how. That's all from me. Thank you.